Legends, welcome back to another episode of the Ruck Report. Of course, round 5 has just finished. I'm your host, Joey. Just me today. We are going to go through the round that was, talk a bit about it. Let's get some talking points. I will do my best to answer them. Let's start off with Thursday. Interesting for the Raiders, of course, because a lot of people had the Sharks getting this win. The Raiders off the back of 2 losses. I think I had the Sharks personally. I thought they would get the job done. Very, very disappointed in Cronulla. I don't know what happened there, but didn't look like the premiership threat that they have looked over the past couple of weeks. Great win for the Raiders. Bins, the cut down that's going on is very, very interesting. Make what you will with the sin bins that are being called. Personally, I think they're quite soft. Let's jump into our first Friday night game, and what a performance this was. The Cowboys against the Panthers, absolutely incredible in this game. Now, look, the Panthers, 4 losses in a row. Very un-Panther-like. We haven't seen this in a long, long time for them. Nathan Cleary was back. I tipped the Panthers to get this done. I thought with Cleary back that would be the difference. It wasn't the difference. So, the Panthers go into round 6 with 1 win into round 6 with 1 win and 4 losses, which is just incredible. We have not seen it in a very long time. Any comments on this game, guys? Please throw them in. The Cowboys, though, looked very, very impressive, getting the win by 4 points. Look, they've looked good the past 2 weeks. Got a good win last week and then another win here. They're starting to really build the Cowboys, so really, really good to see them getting a win in this one. But, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Penrith. I mean, I know everyone says that, they're the 4-time reigning premiers, but I don't know. If I'm a Panthers fan, I'm probably worried at this because very, very weird to see Penrith playing this way, and that next man up mentality that we know that they've had over the past couple of seasons doesn't seem to be there at the moment. The young guys that are coming through just aren't hitting their straps like the guys before them. I think Luai, again, is a massive loss for them. And I think people forget the leadership and the experience that he brings to a side and just the ability to get a win. But let's move into the next Friday night game. Now, this one hurts. Rabbitohs defeating the Roosters 20-14, of course. The big rivalry, the book of feuds, and didn't it light up again? Look, as a Roosters fan, this one was tough. It's always a big match against the Bunnies. We love to take them on and get the win. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be in this game. Latrell Mitchell was back playing at centre. Looked really, really fit. Jai Gray at fullback. I mean, what a kid Jai Gray is. As much as I'm a Roosters fan, seeing this kid Jai Gray run around, he is going to be an absolute superstar. I think he's a starting fullback in any team. I think he's got to stay there, at least for the near future. I really liked what I saw from Latrell at centre and then moving to 5'8". Just chanced his hand, and it worked in this one. Look, I don't want to say that pass at the end was a bit suspect, but there was a few throughout the game. And again, we're seeing these calls that aren't being called. But credit to the Bunnies getting it done over their arch rivals. Let's talk about the Roosters a little bit now. It's sort of going the way everyone predicted, and I think as a Roosters fan, we don't want to see that because I want to see my Roosters doing really well. But unfortunately, Chad Townsend just isn't there at the moment. I love Chaddy, but he just looks a pace slower than the opposition. He just looks like his kicking game just needs work. It's not going anywhere. He's kicking out on the full. They're not kicking to the corners. The team's not them pushing up as a unit. Really interesting to see the Roosters and where they're at the moment. And then, of course, you listen to the press conference with Robinson, and there's sort of no accountability there. He's sort of saying that it's great to see the young guys getting a run and they're doing so well. And, we're expecting that this year. I'm sorry, but if I'm the Roosters coach, I'm out there. I'm getting into my boys. I'm going, lads, this is not on. We need to be out there. This is our arch enemy. This is our arch rival, the Rabbitohs. Like, we don't like losing to the Bunnies. Let's get out there. Let's play our best footy and let's play hard and fast and tough. But just at the moment, that isn't happening with the Chooks, and very, very strange to see. So, look, credit to the Bunnies, and they definitely deserve the win in this one. Let's jump into our first game of Super Saturday. It was the Eels against the Dragons. Now, the Eels getting their first win of the season, 23-22, a field goal to Zach Lomax. And look, what a guy to bring it up against his former club, the Dragons. And then on the other side of that, the the Dragons, Clint Gufferson scoring 2 tries against the Eels. Was very tempted to do the Gufferino. I think he was getting ready to do it over the top of some players, but very good to see Guffo have an absolute stellar performance in this one. Great to see the Eels get a win. They were 0-4 heading into this game, and a lot's been made of their season so far, and whether Jason Riles is the right coach to lead them through this new dynasty. Of course, Mitch Moses out doesn't help, but they looked a lot better in this game. They looked like a unit towards the back end of that second half. Katoga, I really like in the second row. Keep that kid. He is going to be an absolute star. And Riley Smith, look, I don't want to say that I called it, but if you go back and listen to some of our preseason stuff, I did say that Riley Smith would be the hooker by round 5 for Parramatta. So you just see he had it in his game. He's a great young kid, and coming through, he's always been touted as the next best thing. So great to see the Eels get a win. I think for the Dragons, I don't think Flano will be happy with that second half performance. I think he'll be expecting a lot more for the Dragons, especially to finish off those games, having such a comfortable lead at one stage and then just not being able to get it done. So I think Flano will be quite mad with the team. Of course, if you are tuning in, if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer. Benny's Best Bets 01. Love your work, lads. Thank you, Benny. Shout out to you, mate. An absolute legend there. If there are any questions, please drop them and I will do my best to answer. But let's keep moving into our next Saturday game. It was the Dolphins against the Titans. Now, the Dolphins getting it done in a big way in this one, 36-10. And again, a team that was 0-4 heading into this round gets a win. So every team now has a win. Not good for my Chookies as they've moved now to second last. But with the Dolphins, we knew they had it in them. They just have not been playing very well at the moment. So really good to see the Dolphins getting a win and a big win too. The Titans, for me, they've looked good 2 weeks in a row. I don't know if they've just worked too hard up to that point and just couldn't get it over the Dolphins, but they just looked poor. The Titans in this one just looked very poor. I mean, Tino, probably the earliest sin bin we've ever seen, about 2 minutes into the game. And as I mentioned before, that crackdown has really, really been in place this weekend. And, I don't know what you all think. Please leave in the comments whether you're liking the new crackdown, whether you think it's too harsh. Do we need some more leniency? Do we need to go back to 2 refs? What are your thoughts on all this, everybody? Please leave it in the comments. But I think the Dolphins were very impressive. It was good to see the hammer firing. Of course, Herbie, Maxi Plaff, who I absolutely love. He's a fantastic player. No Tom Gilbert, so there was a lot of work for the forwards to get through, and they absolutely stood up in this one. Daniel Saifidi, I thought, was really, really good in this game too. For the Titans, not many shining lights. I mean, Jaden Campbell, we've seen the games that he's had over the past few weeks. He's really set the competition alight, just not in this game. He just couldn't get the Titans back into where they wanted to be. So, and look, heading into this game, really, really wrecked my tips this week. I think I was about 1 from 5 heading into the next game, which of course was the Broncos against the Tigers. The Broncos getting it done 46, Tigers 24. So massive win there for the Bronx. But this scoreline doesn't really tell the tale of this game because the Broncos were actually matching it with the Tigers. Tigers were in the lead for a little bit there, and then Broncos came back and won the game. But look, it was really good to see the Tigers go toe-to-toe with the Bronx, of course. It was really good to see them matching it with them, of course, half-time, 2-point field goal from Adam Reynolds, and age shall not weary them. Him and Ben Hunt are just looking absolutely stellar at the moment. And look, it's fantastic to see that these two are still just absolutely carving up for the Broncos. And, Broncos getting it done. Big way, 46. Now, I think the big matchup everyone wanted to see, Terrell May for the Tigers against Payne Haas from the Broncos, but wasn't really much to talk about with those two. I think they're going to be the front rowers for New South Wales heading into the Origin series. I think I expected more fireworks. I expected a bit more from both of them. Sort of didn't really get their team on the front foot. It was more led by the halves, Lockie Galvin for the Tigers, and then Reynolds, as I mentioned before, for the Broncos. So, look, good game this one. I think the Broncos are just sort of cementing their place in that top four, as we knew that they all would. All right, let's jump into our next game. Of course, it was some Sunday footy. Now, what a game this was today. Storm 48 defeating the Sea Eagles 24. Now, this is terrible if you're a Sea Eagles fan, because this is at the so-called fortress, Brookvale Oval, which we know is an absolute fortress for Manly, but not in this game. The Storm, they came to play, getting a fantastic win in this one. Almost the dreaded 50 for the Sea Eagles, so they're lucky that it wasn't. Storm, they just looked clinical. Of course, Hughes, named on the extended bench throughout the week, played in this game. And he looked great. Came on at 22, and he looked fantastic. Of course, if you do have any comments, please drop them. I will do my best to answer them as we go. Now, for the Sea Eagles, no Tommy, and you could tell it hurt them in this game. It really, really hurt them. Cherry Evans, a lot of pressure was on his shoulders to get the win in this one. Couldn't get it done. Kohler, I thought, was really good in the centres, and I thought Lehigh Hopewhite tried his best as much as he could, but the Sea Eagles were just starved of possession. They just had no possession. Storm had all the ball. How good is a young Grant Anderson, though? We saw Anderson on the wing getting a hat trick, almost a fourth try, almost a fifth try. Had a couple of other opportunities there. But look, this kid, it's crazy how the Storm can just keep producing these incredible wingers. These wingers that come through and you think, that no one will be as good as the one before. But they just keep churning them out, and they are still really, really good. So, look, fantastic to see from the Melbourne Storm. Just a clinical performance, incredibly, with his goal kicking. And if you're a super coach or fantasy player and you brought him in, you've been happy with that. But it looked like he may have a bit of a niggle heading into next week. So stay monitored there. And, of course, we finish up with our final game of round 5. It was the Bulldogs against the Newcastle Knights. Now, the Dogs getting it done 20-0, and they just keep firing. They're the only undefeated team in the comp, 5-0 to start the year. It hasn't been done for a long time, especially from the Bulldogs, but fantastic to see. I think no matter who you are, everyone's got a bit of a soft spot for the Dogs at the moment to see what Serrato's done with this club. And I shout out to Gus as well for his contributions, but to see what they've done with this Bulldogs side, who are just showing grit, determination. No Matt Burton, no Viliami kicking fit, both the likes of Kalen Ponga and Brad Mombassi, these Origin-like players, Dane Gagai, but they just couldn't get a look in this game. And, they're in a bit of a bother now. They lost to the Titans a couple of weeks ago, had the bye last week, and now another loss where they remain scoreless against the Dogs, and could be a bit of panic stations for the Newcastle Knights. I mean, they won't expect anything less than finals. So if they do miss out, I think Adam O'Brien could be on the chopping block a little bit. But the Doggies, they looked absolutely clinical in that second half. Crazy scoreline at halftime, 2-0, which we don't see very often. So it was cool to see that, just a penalty goal in it. But, really interesting game, this one. I thought, again, the sin bin rule is just being overused. But, look, I get it. The crackdown's there, so they got to do it. But personally, I don't agree with it. I think a sin bin, I get that high tackles, they're high, they hurt, but anything below the neck, I don't really think you need to be calling a high tackle. I think if it's around the shoulders or, if it's a solid hit, then that's fine. They're rugby league players, so I don't know. For me, I'm a bit old school. I like the old me, but. If you do have any comments, please leave your comments. What do you think about the sin bin rule at the moment this week? Of course, we've seen it overused. Have we seen it underutilized? What are your thoughts there? Of course, please leave any questions you have for me about the round. It was a great round of footy. Tipping wise, I got about 4 from 8. I started the week with 0 from 3. So really good to end up with 4 from 8, the back end of the round, which was fantastic. Heading into next week, really interesting. A few big games coming up. Of course, Panthers need a win. Eagles and Dolphins will be looking for another win. The Roosters will be looking for a win after a string of losses. So it's going to be interesting for a few clubs where they end up this season. But look, that's it for the Ruck Report for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget that tomorrow night, time of recording, Monday night, we will be recording our next episode 104. So get your viewer questions in for that episode. Of course, Ryan will be joining me and the Saint, Josh, again as well. Luke and Harry, of course, big shout out to my co-hosts who are over in Thailand at the moment. They just won the T20 Cricket Championship in Thailand, back-to-back premiers. So shout out to the lads. They did really, really well over there. Harry actually getting player of the match in the final, taking 3 for 2 in bowling. So fantastic to have there. The international cricket sensation lives on. Of course, don't forget to follow us on all social media at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, and of course, Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Go give us a listen. Check out awesome interviews that we've had with some fantastic players and coaches and refs as well. Massive shout out to everyone who joined in for this live stream. Thank you so much. Shout out to Marcos Rader who said, good stream, mate. Thank you very much, mate. Look, it was a bit all over the place. I think the internet's crackly a little bit, but thank you very much for the comment. Please leave your comments. Please get some likes and some subscribes on YouTube as well. So this, of course, will be up on YouTube too. But until next time, I'm Joey. Be good.